Good. So my name is Sharon Ayalde. I am the Director of Community Engagement for OpenDP. Good morning. Oh, you're awake. Awesome. So we are going to go through a couple different things. We're going to announce a few things and obviously looking for more engagement. So before we start, if you're in the room, you probably registered and you saw that you needed to agree to this code of conduct. I'm assuming you read it. Just in case, if you just clicked yes and moved on, here's a copy of it again. And it's all about respect, right? You go to all these conferences, you go to meetings, it's always about respecting each other, listening, and, you know, knowing that there probably are going to be different points of view, different perspectives in the same room. And we want to respect that. So we want to be as inclusive as possible. Let's start off with a lot of thank yous. So we could not have this community meeting as a free and inclusive event if it wasn't for our corporate sponsors. And a lot of the folks who helped get these sponsorships are in the room. So if you see folks from Capital One, yeah, I saw you sneak in earlier. Rob from Oblivious, Mayana, who's virtually joining us online, who also from Microsoft. This is the reason why we have the hands-on DP books that we gave away for all of you. Needed these sponsors to really help and support the community. We also had platinum level, gold, and silver from Apple, Google, Meta, TikTok, Depella, and Tumult Labs. Folks are in the room. Please say hello and thank you. And personally, thank you for helping us put these events together and keep folks in the community engaged and involved. All right. Another round of thank yous. So for the first time, the community meeting had a program committee, and we reached out to folks within the community that represented all aspects, right? Industry, academia, government, people who are working in big tech, small tech. And we created this program committee. We were meeting biweekly for the last few months, going over what the agenda looked like, who should we reach out to, getting their feedback. And it was super, super valuable working with you all. And it was I don't want to say a thankless job because I think I thanked you all numerous times. But it is one of those things where we want to make sure that these folks get recognition as well. So if you can give them a round of applause as well, that would be. So let's jump into this. If you remember last year, if you were here last year, I had just started a few months before. So I've been part of OpenDP for about a year and a half now. And what we were striving to do was build a diverse, inclusive, and vibrant community. And over the course of the year, we really focused on that. Salil was mentioning, building use cases, creating working groups, finding ways where we can create activities that not only promote the use of differential privacy, but also find value for each of you to be a part of them, right? So it has to be some sort of win-win relationship that if you are giving us your time, that there is some sort of impact and value that you are receiving as well, right? And that's for the wider community. We want to be able to share and promote opportunities to collaborate. And I love connecting people all the time. There's a lot of you that know this. I love hearing your stories or your challenges or what you're working on. And I just love connecting folks in the room. What I wanted to share and kind of focus on after the community meeting earlier this year, one of our NSF grants called POSE, which was focused on building an ecosystem, building a community. So this is obviously up my alley. And as part of the grant, they asked that each awardee would be part of this course. So it was like 6 weeks, I think. Myself, Vikrant, Raman, as well as Chuck. There he is. We were part of these courses. They were like really in depth. And what it allowed us to do was learn a little bit more about who our community is, how can OpenDP support them, and actually even fully understand what do you think OpenDP should be doing, or what do you maybe think it could do that could benefit you, right? So we had a very tight time frame to interview as many people as possible. So we blasted out 400 invites. We put out calls in our Slack channel. And we were able to do 37 interviews in 3 weeks. They were long interviews. A number of you who we interviewed are in the room. Thank you again. And we wanted to receive feedback, but we also wanted to kind of understand your challenges. How can we help? But it wasn't a push for OpenDP is going to come in and save the day. No, no, no. This was more of a, we want to understand your perspective. We want to be able to build something with you to then allow us to build a more, I guess, more inclusive canvas of who we're actually working with, but also an ecosystem where we understand how those relationships work. So let me kind of show you what we're talking about. So we found there were some obvious things we knew, right? So what we wanted to make sure that the community knew, but we also had confirmation that the community looked to OpenDP. It was about education. It was about use case development. It was about the library itself, how they can use it for the work that they're doing. And then where can we actually improve? So greater adoption of the library or community efforts, understanding, obviously education is a big piece of this. How does this relate to standards and regulations? If you were at TBDP, this was obviously a topic, and we're going to hear from Jeremy Epstein tomorrow from the White House talking about what the US government's going to do for this. But we also created this ecosystem. This is probably version 4, and it's probably still not complete, right? This is what we were able to do in the time that we had for this like education with POSE. And we had numerous iterations of this because we're like, wait a minute, these people are also working with these other folks. But then they're also competitors. So how does that relate when it comes to either working with government or how they actually work with OpenDP? And since OpenDP is obviously open source, it's nonprofit, we stay neutral. We want to benefit all of these folks. You can see all these arrows going everywhere. But there's still more here. So we're still kind of discovering and we're still building this out. So this is kind of a snapshot of what we were doing earlier this year for like 6-7 months. But what we also wanted to do was kind of give a snapshot of what this community meeting was about. So we took a little bit of an activity. We had a little bit less than 300 people register for the community meeting in person and virtually. Now, what is one of the things that I hear as a non-technical person from folks that say, I really want to use DP, but my data set's really small. What do I do? So Vikrant is going to come up and talk about what we did for the registration for the community meeting, which was a little under 300 registrants for the data set.
All right, thank you. I'm Vikrant Singhal, and I'm a research associate here. So I'm going to be talking about a little bit about the registration stats. So to start with, the way we did it, we used differentially private histograms, and we did all of the analyses or the plots that I'm going to show you under pure DP with epsilon equals 1 total budget. And as Sharon mentioned, we didn't have that many data points. So, privacy utility trade-off, lack of data points. So we decided to release just 3 stats because we also wanted to utilize, or we wanted to make sure we are getting good and somewhat accurate stats. And yeah, I'm going to be showing the stats and those bars, and they're going to have like 95% confidence intervals indicated on them too. One thing, in addition to limiting the number of queries to 3, we had to do was in the registration forms, you must have noticed they're like, for example, primary focus, there are like 5 options. In the interest of preserving accuracy, again, due to low number of data points, we had to club some bins together to get enough number of points in each bin. So let me show you. So the first thing we did was we tried to count a two-way marginal for the role versus the motivation as in motivation for attending the community meeting. So the role of academic researchers or faculty, about 30 people in a differentially private way. About 30 of the academic researcher or faculty folks, they were interested in contributing to OpenDP. Roughly 10, 15 more were interested in learning about OpenDP or using OpenDP products. The number of students was higher in terms of both contributing to OpenDP and also learning about OpenDP and the products. But everybody else besides that, the numbers were way higher. Other people include government officials, decision makers, industry researchers, other researchers, privacy-focused engineers, whatnot. Yeah, they were interested in like contributing to OpenDP library, but mostly they just wanted to like learn about OpenDP and actually use the products that we offered. The next thing is the primary focus and the secondary focus, trying to find some correlation there. So as it turns out, people who had registered their primary focus to be algorithm development, also some of them also said their secondary focus is also algorithm development. They really love algorithm development. So, but besides that, a large chunk of people we saw from the algorithm development primary focus, they were also interested in like decision making and guiding policy. The survey planning and administration people, the primary focus ones, the numbers are fairly small. It's hard to say conclusively what the numbers are, but it just seems like survey planning administration has had more intersection with decision making and guiding policy. But again, there's noise in there, hard to say. But for the decision making and guiding policy, people who have this as their primary focus, this is more, we can say this with more confidence. Their primary focus, the secondary focus also seems to be decision making and guiding policy. Again, they love that. It's great. But they also want to contribute to algorithm development. That seems to be another motivation for them. And a decent chunk also want to contribute to survey planning administration. And finally, primary focus was the gender. We want to see which gender has how much like primary focus, like which category they like the most. So people who identify themselves as men, they love algorithm development the most, with around 110 approximately saying that they want to do algorithm development. And this seems to be a really popular topic among those who identify themselves as like women as well. About 40 noisy count, they want to do algorithm development. And as far as survey planning and administration goes, again, the numbers are too small to say something too conclusively, but it seems like those who identify themselves as women seem to be more about survey planning and administration. On the other hand, the final set of bars, decision making and guiding policy, all other responses seems to be the most interested in that. And yeah, there's a decent chunk of men and women also interested in that, with like about 60 saying men and decision making, and roughly 40 saying women decision making, at about the same number for all other responses as well. So that's pretty much it. Thank you.
All right, we're going to run short on time. So, how can we support this community? How are we getting folks together, regardless of your background, ethnicity, gender, all of the above? So, first and foremost, there's a community meeting. This is an annual event. This is the second year we've actually been in person. It was virtual before that because of the pandemic. So, we're hoping to continue these every year. We have programs. We'll talk about that in our team update, which is next. We love connecting people. So always feel free to reach out. We have a ton of resources and learning opportunities, whether they're tutorials on our YouTube channel. So that's the QR code for the YouTube channel. Hackathons, there is one tomorrow afternoon if you want to join that. And updated documentation as well as guidance, and obviously our GitHub. We've also amplified a lot of our comms. So you probably know my name because of this, whether it's on Slack or sending emails or we're putting out blogs. But, if it's on our website, if it's in Slack, if it's on LinkedIn, if it's on X, formerly known as Twitter. We're trying to showcase work that's being done, not just by OpenDP, but also from you guys, from the community. If there is something that you want to talk about where you've had a success story, or there's something that you're using DP for, or maybe you need help with something, reach out to us. Allow us to help you. Allow us to help promote the work that you're doing. Allow us to celebrate your successes. That's what we're here for. So Lil mentioned we have a bunch of these working groups. Wanted to recognize these folks, right? These are the folks, between Joe's who's sitting over there and Adam I saw earlier. There you are. For the education and educational materials, the proof review board, which is really talked about last year, kicking off this year. You'll hear from Salil later on today. And we have the privacy attacks and auditing working group, which is a parallel session later on today. We've had monthly meetings. We have a task force. There's a whole repository. We'll talk a little bit more about that in that parallel session if you want to join that. But we also want to create and ensure that we're building new working groups as well. That would be interesting for any one of you to join. So let me go back to Vikrant's slide about interest, and this one is by gender. Obviously, you can see those that identify as men, numbers pretty high. Those that identify as women, we're in there, right? We're represented. It was hard for us, and we couldn't, due to the privacy budget, we couldn't share other genders. We couldn't share other ethnicities because the numbers were too small, right? So there's obviously work that needs to be done. But we wanted to start somewhere when it comes to diversity and supporting diversity initiatives. In the DP community and what we see in this registration, this percentage, you're in the 30% in computer science and research industries. People in the technical world, you're still in the low 20s when it comes to women that identify, folks that identify as women. So pretty good. Still, we're in the 30s, right? But what we're launching today is Women in DP. Now, name TBD. This, maybe we could come up with something nicer, fun, fancy. But what is important for women and those that identify as women is to get together, feel support, share stories, because there are a lot of people who in this room, online, we've all taken different paths. And it's super important, regardless if you're early career, mid-career, late career, you can learn from each other. And not only that, you are or have the opportunity to lean on each other, as women. So this QR code is specifically to the Slack channel that we just created. The lovely folks who are helping lead this, again, a mix of backgrounds, right? Industry, academia, but not only that, people with children, people with no children, maybe people who gonna have children one day, dog mom. So it's very much a mix of different perspectives, and it's how we can support each other. But I will say there's something else that's also super important: allies. So what's interesting is, you've probably heard this before. So I've been in tech, even though I'm not an engineer, researcher, scientist. I've been in tech and working in tech for over 20 years. And I will probably not be the only person you've heard this from. Many, many, many times, I've been the only woman in the room. The only woman sitting at the table. And well, think about that. How many times have you heard that, right? Probably a lot. So what does that say? But I was so lucky in my whole career. I always had an ally, regardless of what company I went to. Someone who gave me the opportunity to sit at the table, have a voice, and support me. But not everyone has that. So again, super important to share. But again, allies are also important. And I'm hoping from this group, we can share these stories with our allies. It's not just having a woman as a keynote at your conference or your workshop, or having a woman as part of your panel because you want to look diverse, right? That is important too. But the fact of the matter is, there are only so many women in the field, you're burning them out, right? I could go on forever. Find me in the break. So yeah, this community needs your participation. We need your help. This is our Slack channel. Majority of the time, the information is coming from here. It's the easiest to get a hold of anyone. Reach out to folks within the community. We're all friendly, right? We need your DP use cases, like Salil was saying. Let's celebrate. Let's share the work that you're doing. The more we talk about it, the more we can get in front of things. Reach out to get connected with others in the community. If you don't know someone or you don't know who's working in a specific field, I'm more than happy to connect you and figure it out together. Join a working group, went through a bunch of working groups. Maybe you want to create or lead one. I'm notorious for this, have conversations with folks. Actually, even like yesterday and the day before, with Rachel and with Christine about how to support students and give them recognition. We want to do something. Ideas, bring those ideas. That's what we want to hear. And then just overall, increase DP awareness, or you want to have a new DP project using OpenDP. Let's figure something out together. Let's talk. My email address, website, team address is all here. And again, the Slack channel with a QR code. And we'll move on to the next talk with the team. Thank you.
So why don't we quickly have everybody on the team on the stage so the people on Zoom can see you?
Oh, yeah. And when
Mike?
Annie says this, she's been pinging us. Stand between this and there.
Yeah, we're putting like a lower bounds and upper bounds here.
All right, Annie, kick it off.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we're missing somebody. Where's Chike? Is Chike there? Okay, so this general update slide is sort of a view of like what's happening under the hood, right? Behind the scenes under the hood. So treat this as a sort of keyword slide that the team has been focusing on in the past year since the last meeting. Some processes we have streamlined quite a bit, but operation-wise, we still rely heavily on the IQSS seed and other Harvard infrastructure. I'm not going to go through the word by word over there because we're short on time, but I want to mention some keywords. We are closely, tightly aligned with all the goals of being trustworthy, open source, community, and free. The famous saying, free as in freedom, and also sustainable is very important. I'll let you stare at this slide for like 5 seconds and and then Mike, you can start on your slide.
All right, so quick introductions to individual team members. I work on library architecture and design. I do a lot of work on implementation of DP mechanisms. I maintain the library with wonderful help from Chuck, and I extend functionality to support use cases. I write a lot of proofs, a fair amount of documentation. And if you would like to make a code contribution or proof contribution to the library itself, then I'm a good person to send a DM to and help guide you through the process.
Me next. Yeah, I've been working a lot on the documentation. We had help this summer from our intern Gurman Diwali, and we've just released with 11.1 some of her work. Also usability, like if something doesn't work, I think that's valuable for feedback for us too. Either filing issues or commenting on Slack, and I'll try to get an issue so we know to follow up on that. More broadly on QA, I've been doing lots of code reviews for Mike, trying to understand what I can, and just sort of larger tooling around like that, making sure we have test coverage, linting on our code, type checking, etc.
Hello again. I'm a research associate. My primary role is stealing hats from 4-year-olds. But besides that, I do research here. Mostly, my focus has been DP stats, off late DP ML as well. this summer I was co-supervising an intern, Maxine Park, with Roy on a DPML project, and also hosting Praneeth, was a fellow here, doing some DP stat stuff. Besides this, besides the research, I work on more documentation side, or assisting with the documentation sides and like proof reviewing as well. And a bit of community efforts. That's it.
All right, cool. Hello, everyone. My name is Chike Abua. I'm still fairly new here. I think the newest member on the team. I am exploring research dealing with privacy attacks, risk assessment. I'm interested in practical issues related to deployment, usability, and education. I do a lot of work on brainstorming and leading the writing of grants. I may have collaborated with some of you in the room here on NIST or NSF proposals. But yeah, that's mostly it for me. If anyone is interested in any of the things I've listed up here, please feel free to get into contact with me.
I'm Nina. I just joined the team in July, and as you can imagine, it's been a busy summer. I work on the community engagement side along with Sharon, organizing events like this community meeting. And I also work closely with the Interns and Fellows program, shepherding every aspect of the process from start to finish. And we are looking forward to streamlining and amplifying that project for next year. We have a couple of slides that I won't go over word for word, but essentially we host visiting fellows who are already established in industry and academia to work part-time with us. And we host a summer internship program where interns who are students can come for 10 weeks and work on a project. And interns and fellows all receive one-on-one mentorship, opportunities to present their work to the DP community. And this is really a beginning. It is not you're in and you're out. We're excited to see many of our interns and fellows from the past join us here today. And as we ramp up into the 5th year of our program, we look forward to hosting a reunion next year. So stay tuned and please check on our website for more information about the 2025 program.
Thanks
Well, we
very
could
much.
talk about,
Yeah. No, go ahead, Sharon.
I was just going to say, you could look on the slide to see who was part of the program here in 2024 for our fellows and interns and the projects that they were working on. In the interest of time, let us know if you would like a little bit more information. More than happy to share it with you. But it was pretty competitive, and we're looking forward to opening it up again for next year's call.